everyone. This is Adam with FightersBlog Podcast number 2. I'm joined with Scott Extance, who was on the last podcast with Matt Brown. Say what's up.
How's everyone doing today?
And we are joined with 2 guests. We have Nixson and we have Mad Creativity. Nixon, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name's Nixson, also known as Nixson MMA Posters. To make a long story short, I just make fan-made UFC posters. You might have seen my work. I've done a few posters with Nick the Face in collaboration with his trailers, like on JDS and Velasquez 2, Jones versus Sonnen, Silva versus Weidman, and one of my posters actually went on to Rogers Sportsnet somehow.
Awesome.
With Belfort versus Bisping.
Awesome.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And
I didn't know
Middle
that.
Easy has a couple on there, and sometimes the Underground has some of my posters up.
That's awesome.
I'm a student at the Queensland College of Art studying design in Australia right now. Visual communication. I guess that's about it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I actually didn't know about that.
You can check out my posters at facebook.com/Nixson MMA Posters. That's NIXSON MMA Posters. And nixons.com.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you've got some great work. I use plenty of it on my site. Posted it elsewhere and love it. Everyone else loves it because
Awesome.
if I'm not the one to post it, I find it somewhere else and get it from them, or see that you've made something, which is pretty cool. And I didn't know about all that other stuff, how you did work in collaborations with those other big names who make promos and posters and big websites like Middle Easy and whatnot.
Yeah, I think Middle Easy just found it actually and just posted it.
It's big though. It's big.
Yeah, I just sent Nick the Face like an email and saying like, hey, like I really like your trailers, and I aspire to be like the poster version of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and he just said, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, everything seems to be going all right. And so we've got Mad Creativity. You want to introduce yourself?
What's up, guys? I'm from based out of Florida, Tampa, Florida. I used to be creative director for MMA magazine called MMA Authority that was based out of Montreal for a couple years. And that's how I kind of got involved into the MMA aspect of the game. I've been a freelance photographer for the past, I guess, going on 10 years now. I went to Ringling School of Art and Design down here in Florida. I graduated there in 2001, and I just kind of been doing my own freelance photography gig here for the past couple of years. Started up. I'm one of the co-founders of Models in MMA, and started that side kind of as a hobby because I once I got into the MMA thing thanks to the magazine, I kind of fell in love with it, and I never really stopped following it. I always kept up with it and all that, and I kind of still wanted to, be able to kind of incorporate, into the blog, the news of the MMA plus, some of the stuff like, the models and the photography and stuff like that. So it's I've been juggling that and my business on the side. So it's been keeping me busy.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. It's funny how a lot of people get into a certain thing, like how it just happened because you liked it, and now it's kind of blown up, and you do such great things, and so many people follow, and then you make a poster and it gets put on big websites, and of course that puts yourself out there. It's pretty mind-boggling to me how people just put this stuff together out of almost nowhere.
Yeah. I think it's probably, when you follow your passion, you find other like-minded people, and we all gravitate towards each other. And, it's usually most of the people that I run into, they turn out to be, less more about the sport and everything else rather than their own egos. So everybody likes to collaborate and do that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, I love it. Driven by passion. That's how I keep whatever I do, alive. But a little, background story on how I met Mad Creativity. I noticed through my blog, and I post event photos, I do recaps, previews, tons of different stuff through FightersBlog.tumblr.com. And I noticed, and I've noticed through other people, that they would repost stuff through their Twitter. And I noticed that they were doing it, and it was almost an occasional thing. And when I would look myself up, I would see that Twitter account, plenty. So I thought I would message them, and when I messaged them about the content, I got an email back saying, if you find any of your content on our website, we'll gladly take it down. We're only posting it through Twitter. And when I first sent the message, I was doing it because I was honored, right? Like, I don't get paid for what I do. Any person that's higher up, or anyone, if they don't know anyone and they like my content, I appreciate it. So to see that my content was being put in through a Twitter account, in a pretty well-known, followed Twitter account, it was really cool. So we got to messaging, and I let him know that, this is what I want to do. I want to take it to the next level, put my name out there. So he gave me a shot to write an event, and that would be Fox Sports 1. It was the first event for that channel. It was the launch, and things went well. And as they're going, they're getting a little bit better. So, again, thank you for that opportunity. It's been really great. Been keeping the content on there, on Fighters Blog. Did some live tweeting from the event with Scott here. And, it was a really good time. And, again, thank you.
Oh, no worries, man. What Adam doesn't tell you is that he opened up the email with like, "Look, you bastards, you better take my shit off your website." No, we exactly like you said, man. It was good stuff, and I thank you for the help. You've been a tremendous help, and especially covering the live event. That was amazing. I was like, God damn it, those guys are over there right now. Because the fight was insane, man. I was like, I had a bunch of people over at my house, and everybody was on their feet for the Jones and Gustafsson fight, man. It was unreal.
Oh, so were we. So were we.
Yeah. So it's like, man, but yeah, the entire card was solid, So I can imagine, because I remember going to the Bell Center, that was for the Chuck Liddell Shogun fight, and it was just crazy, man. You Canadians love the MMA, So I can just imagine what it was like over there for the Jones fight.
Yeah, we went a little nuts. I'm still trying to get my voice back. It's still a little gone. My job that I do outside of this whole MMA thing, working in a gym, I do orientations for people, so I'm there talking for an hour, and by the end of it, I can hardly say anything, especially after that event. Yeah, it was an insane environment. Again, me, Scott, and another buddy of mine went up there. It was an amazing experience.
So now between fights, when it was kind of, did it get slow? Did they pan to GSP to hump up, to pump the people up again? That's because I remember that's what they were doing last time. Whenever like it was a boring fight, or whenever they would immediately, everybody's like, quiet, and then it goes to GSP, and I was like, everybody started just cheering, So
yeah, what they were doing? They were promoting the next event, the next big event, which is Dos Santos Velasquez 3.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that was the main thing that they were promoting. Saw the trailer, a whack of times, but when it got, and especially to the main card, the fights just flew by. When the fight ended, they pretty much started the next one.
Right.
Earlier on, if a fight went by quick, and a few of them did, we'd be sitting there for a little bit waiting, and then when it went from, Facebook to prelims to the main card, it took, just a little bit, but
10, 15 minutes. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it honestly wasn't bad. It gave you just enough time to go spend $15 on one beer and take a leak.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was insane, but yeah, I don't think there'll ever be a time where you can experience that again. It was the first ever event for me, for Scott. It was insane. It was 2 title fights: Hennenbrow, Eddie Wineland, and then Jones Gustafsson. Jones Gustafsson was, arguably one of the best mixed martial arts title fight, ever to be displayed. It was insane. You go back and you watch the video of the fight, and you hear the crowd going, and it sounds loud, and just imagine being there. It was insane. I couldn't hear myself talk. I couldn't hear anyone else talking to me. Only the crowd going nuts. It was a really good time. Really good fights. There were a few sleepers, but it was all made up throughout a few of the fights on the event.
Right.
Which I was happy with.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
How did you feel about it, Scott? That being like your first event, what was the experience for you?
Well, no matter what, I knew it was going to be a good time.
Yeah.
So going in with that attitude, I had a great time. Like you said, there was probably 3 or 4
Carmont.
snoozers that weren't too bad. Yeah, Carmont. There was what else was there? There was 2 on the prelims that weren't too exciting.
Prelims, yeah.
Ricci and Jury wasn't too exciting, but what can you do? Whatever. It made up for it. Like Henan Barrow's knockout was absolutely insane. Honestly, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen, even on
Incredible.
TV. Yeah, it was incredible. It was crazy. And then obviously John Jones and Gustafsson was just incredible. Watching it live was really like something else, honestly. I still haven't had the chance to watch it on TV or like back on my computer, so I got to look at it again, but it was amazing, honestly.
Have you guys all seen that fight? I don't think
yeah, I've seen that fight.
You saw the Jones and Gustafsson fight?
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing like what the differences are when you.
I think your mic just cut out.
With the whole broadcast. Really?
Yeah, it cut out there for a second. I think it's okay now. Going back, I can actually bring up the stats here. Let's see. It is saying throughout the fight, and Jones winning by decision, he landed 134 significant strikes, total strikes 137 out of 220. It said Gustafsson threw 294, total strikes landed 114, significant strikes 110, and both gained a takedown. And Gustafsson did get some sort of, I guess, a takedown when Jones went for a kick, but it wasn't really a full takedown. Jones able to get back to his feet. It was a close fight. Looking at those stats, you can easily go, okay, he landed more punches, he wins. But Gustafsson did a crazy amount of damage, and I believe going into the 4th or the 5th, Jones literally had to beg the doctor to not stop the fight because his face was so swollen, he was so beat up that they were going to stop the fight, but he begged to not, and he didn't want to lose his title like that, so he kept going. And the craziest thing to me is that you take such a beating throughout rounds 1 and 3, and then come 4 and 5, you're already tired. That he delivers what he was able to do, those spinning, elbows, those high kicks, even able to get a takedown that late in the fight. That's really what, proved to me that he should still be champion. But, some people are saying Gustafsson won. And from where we saw the fight, I was almost sure that, we were going to hear, there's a new champion over hearing John Jones and Still.
Oh yeah, that was crazy in person hearing and then just like, oh my god, and then Still.
Yeah.
No, I honestly, from watching the fight, I thought that Gustafsson actually he could have had a split decision at least, So,
yep. I thought that's what. It was insane. I can see where Jones won. I'm not going to dispute that. He still did a great amount of things throughout that fight, but so did Gustafsson. Jones came out, and what was the shirt he was wearing? Not Quite Human, or something along those lines.
Something like that,
yeah. And Gustafsson, proved that you are human and you can be beat because he wasn't far from taking that title away from him.
I honestly think that if he didn't score that takedown, it might have maybe gone. That round might have gone to Gustafsson, and that would have probably made the difference.
It could have. Yep.
Yeah, but I think that if anything, it makes it's almost a little scary because if you realize, every good champion has their they get beat or they get tested, and then they come back stronger. So if this guy is Gustafsson, kind of lit the fire underneath Jones now. It's kind of like what's Jones going to bring next time around, So either way, I think it's going to be a great rematch. At least they got to do the rematch, But even if they don't, or they put Glover Teixeira up next, then I think I think he's in for a tough fight, because I think Jones now has something more to prove now. You know, they made him look he looks beatable now. You know, so
he does. Yeah, and you know, with the rematch. And Nixon had some internet trouble, so he's going to reconnect. He's actually, I don't believe he's in the call right now, but he's going to reconnect. With that rematch being said, is it too early to give that rematch right away? You know, leading up to the fight, a lot of people, you know, said that Gustafsson doesn't really deserve it. What has he done? Sure, he's won a couple good fights. He beat Shogun Rua, but was that enough to get him this title shot? So, you know, I personally wouldn't mind seeing Glover Teixeira versus Alexander Gustafsson. Winner gets to fight, but Glover Teixeira realistically has, you know, beaten everyone that's come in his path. Ryan Bader might have been a little bit of a closer victory because he, you know, Teixeira was almost finished himself. But nonetheless, he won by knockout, and he's been, you know, beating and dominating everyone that comes in his path. You know, you got Rampage Jackson, James Tahuna, you know, a number of guys. So if they give Gustafsson the rematch, what does Glover do? You know, is Glover going to wait? I'm sure he doesn't want to.
Well, I mean, I think in all fairness, Teixeira is unquestionably, he's a beast. You know, I mean, the guy's he's mauling everybody in his way.
Yeah.
But you know, the Dana White and the UFC, they're in it to make money. You know, and I think that right now a rematch between
Gustafsson and Jones,
would sell more tickets than Teixeira. You know, now that the public's has seen how close of a fight that would be. You know, so I think they give it to. I think they give him the rematch, and then Teixeira's up. I would think, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Teixeira and Gustafsson as well. I think that would be a great.
I think that'd be a really good lead-up fight. That way, it's not too quick of a rematch for Gustafsson, because then people might say stuff, and then you might have the other people that go, you know, this needs to happen because what happened prior.
You know, but it's kind of like what happened with Frankie Edgar, you know, and Ben Henderson, and you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's not really. Sometimes it's not about who is the more deserving one or who is the, you know, ranked number one contender. It's about who UFC wants to sell tickets, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, those guys, they need to make their money, and the fighters need to get their money too, you know. So
in the end, if you have proven yourself, you will get a shot. You know, they're not there to jip you or anything, but if they have two options and one is going to make them more money now,
right?
You know, why not go for the money? It's not selfish. People might say that, you know, you're only in it for the money. Well, if they weren't in it for some sort of money, you know, it wouldn't be around. You know, it's not something that can just be funded from nothing, right?
Well, same thing with you know, Jones and with Silva and Weidman. You know, I mean, it's like they immediately set up the rematch. The next fight is not Anderson Silva and somebody else. It's the rematch. You know, so they're going to sell the hell out of that one. You know,
to me, I see that as a big difference.
Yeah.
You know, Gustafsson again, obviously good. He's beaten some good guys. He's not arguably the best in the world. I would say Anderson Silva still is. He's done so much, great finishes, and he, you know, been holding that title forever. Never got beat in UFC history until Weidman. So that's kind of why, you know, they gave that rematch to him. As to where, you know, Gustafsson hasn't done as much as Anderson Silva. A lot of people in the UFC haven't. You know, Anderson Silva.
Well, he's in a class on his own. You know.
Yeah, he holds, you know, every record there can.
Anderson Silva almost like defeated himself in a way, you know, because he sort of just like had his hands down and was, you know, clowning and got caught.
Yeah. With that being said, though, Weidman is still good. You know,
that's true.
Look how many times he's been in there and clowned against Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin, you name it, where he's doing those little dance moves. He dodges what you throw and then he slams you. Right. This time he couldn't.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
He's got great timing, and we know he has great timing when you go back and look at his Mark Munoz fight. Mark Munoz rushes in, he lands some, like, you know, bob under, overhand elbow, Like it was, I can't even explain it, you know?
That was insane. It was like a split second too.
Yeah, it was insane. So, Weidman's still good. You know, I'm not going short on the guy. I think he has a great chance of beating Anderson Silva, and I think Anderson Silva, you know, maybe he'll smarten up a little bit. He also has a great chance of beating Weidman. You know, the first time I thought he was going to be Weidman.
Well, in all honesty, I think Weidman deserves to be the champ. You know,
Yep.
I mean, he has the skills to make it to the number one contender spot. You know, and it's not his fault if the other guy
No,
clowned him
not
or
at all.
not. You know, he sees an opening, he took it. You know, and
Yeah.
I think that it'll be interesting to see if Silva, if he's going to come out strong, or if he learned his lesson, or if he's going to be more cautious now, maybe, or
Yep.
you know, it depends because now he's tasted how hard that kid hits. You know,
Yeah,
so.
I'm looking forward to the fight. You know, it doesn't matter what anybody says. It's going to be one of the biggest rematches in history, and it always seems like Anderson Silva's the one with the biggest rematches. You know, you got Chael
Yeah,
Sonnen, you know, all that kind of stuff, and now Chris Weidman. You know, not too many people thought that this was going to be one of the biggest rematches ever, but
well, a
Look what
after
great champ
happened
needs a
though.
good
what you
opponent,
want,
you know. I mean, a great champ needs a good opponent in order
hmm
to sell the fight, you know. I mean,
yep,
you know, because with Sonnen, I mean, it's everybody wanted to see that fight, but when he went up against other guys like you know even like Belfort or you know Okami, I mean, there wasn't the huge interest, you know, because it's like, oh, I mean, this guy just kind of he's not even gonna break a sweat in there with those guys, you know.
yep.
So
Yeah.
And the issue is he's so much bigger than everyone he fights. You know,
yeah,
his reach is always going to be bigger than everyone's. He has a ridiculous reach. You know, but he's super tall. And that throws you off because you know normally you have a tall, lanky guy. They're not too strong. He's really strong, and we saw that when he fought Chael Sonnen, throwing Sonnen around, taking him down like it was nothing, and doing that with other opponents. You know, if he wants to take you down, you're getting taken down. End
yeah,
of, right? But when it
yeah,
came to
yeah.
Gustafsson, you put him up against, you know, a sizable opponent, the same size, if not a little bit bigger. Things change a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You know, and people questioned it. They said, you know, let's put you at heavyweight and put you against some people. You know, now a lot of people are questioning that because you finally put him up against someone who's the size of, and you know, we see that, you know, he is human, not what his shirt said.
Yeah, well, I mean that's everybody though. I mean, you
Mm,
know, it's you know everybody can be beaten. I mean, look at you know GSP. I mean, Sarah knocked him out. You know,
yep.
I mean it's just a matter of you know it's MMA. That's the beautiful thing about it. You know, I mean it's
Mhm.
like you got two
You
guys
never
there,
know.
and you never know. You know, you never know. So
If I knew what every fight was going to turn out to be, I wouldn't.
be rich
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'd probably get really, really bored of any type of writing or, you know, anything that I try to do for the sport because it's just constant, you know, the same, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the next big one that's kind of got everybody. You know, like I don't know how to. I know because in Canada, you know, he's like a hometown hero. GSP is, you know,
Yep.
but down here, you know, it's kind of like there's the big kind of a big fan base that is kind of the anti GSP. You know,
Hmm.
like every time I go to like me, I love GSP. I mean, you know, I've had mad respect for the guy even before you know, I started getting into MMA because he's like one of the, you know, he always carries himself like a class act. He always seems like he's a hardworking, you know, kind of guy.
Yep.
And then when I met him, when I went to TriStar, I mean, the guy's super humble. I mean, he goes up and he doesn't give you the whole, you know, hey, I'm the champ. Or, I mean, he's just like, you know, hey, my name's George. You know, I mean, it's like, I know who the fuck you are, man. You're fucking GSP, you know?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I
That's
mean,
awesome.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, but down here, it's like it seems like there's a lot of people going for Hendricks. You know,
Mm.
yeah, it's kind of like, and it's I think this is kind of a true test. You know, can his chin hold up against you know
That's
some
what
of
I'm
his
excited to see
Yeah.
for
yeah
sure.
yeah. I'm going for GSP. I think GSP is technical enough that he can avoid the big shots. You know, I think Khan did prove that you can push Hendricks. If you push him, you can gas him out, and then it takes away some of his power. And I think you know GSP and TriStar they're pretty good at being technical and figuring you out, you know, exploiting your weakness. I guess you know, but one of those shots from Hendricks though, man, is like you know
Deadly.
that'll knock you out. Yeah.
You know, we saw
Yeah.
that in Campman. We saw that in former UFC fighter John Fitch.
Right.
He's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a
So,
beast.
and that's the fight where we really saw it was the the John Fitch fight. I remember watching it, and I believe Scott was watching it too. And we were talking on Skype. It wasn't a voice chat, but we were texting back, each other and saying how this is going to be a really boring fight because both are well-known, really strong wrestlers. So we figured it was just going to, they're going to wrestle around and whatnot, and then decision, whoever wrestled the best. Man, it, he landed a punch and that was it. It was insane.
Yeah, it was anything but, I mean, and I honestly think that punch kind of ruined Finch because then when he showed up at World Series of Fighting, he got knocked out again.
No, he got tapped out. Yeah.
Tapped out. Yeah, tapped out. So Hendricks is he's no joke, man. Hendricks is the real thing, But I'm still going for GSP, even though that's kind of biased. But I respect the guy,
Yeah. Well, sometimes it's not about where you're from. Of course, when the event happened here in Toronto last weekend, of course you're going to vote for Canadians. Right. That's the nature of it. But at the same time, when it comes to certain fights, I don't always vote for the Canadian. It's on who I like, who I think has the better skill, who, and it goes along with that. It's not always about, where you're from. So I have GSP. It's not only because I'm Canadian. I'm a big fan. I've always been a huge fan of George St. Pierre, But in some cases, I might go against a person that is Canadian just because I know how they fight. And, I'm just a big fan overall.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Which is, that's just how it is. But, man, the UFC does have quite a lineup of fight cards for the rest of the year.
Yeah, they're going to finish strong.
We've got 3, 6, 9. We have 10 events before the year ends. And, man, they're pretty good year-enders, man. They're really good cards. Yeah. Not ones I would expect to end off a year. And that maybe, I might be saying that because last year, was quite the shit show with everyone dropping out, getting injured, you name it. And this year, coming together so well. Maybe that's just because we had such a bad year last year. Gods have graced us. But
yeah, well, I was talking to a buddy of mine who he originally, when we started MMA Authority, it was a local regional magazine here in Florida, and we still talk a lot. And he runs an MMA school down here. But we were saying that I guess as a viewer, as a fan, I think we've gotten a little bit spoiled with the abundance now of MMA. I mean, it's everywhere now. You got Bellator and Spike. You got Fox Sports. It's just everywhere now. It's just you can't get away from it almost.
Yep.
But back in the day, I mean, I remember having to go to like Blockbuster Video and rent like the UFC's greatest hits or something if I wanted to get my MMA fix, and it kind of like went from rushing to see every piece of MMA to like I don't need to buy that pay-per-view because there's going to be a free one next week, and it's kind of like the tide kind of shifted a little bit,
Yep. Yeah, no, it's I love it, man. And sometimes, when I'm at work, or other places, I have friends that are into MMA. Obviously not as much as me because, they say, man, fights aren't good. There's so many events. You've got them on Wednesday now. You've got them every week. You got them, every 2 weeks. What happened to it being once a month? And, what does it matter?
Right.
And like they're great fights. You tell me a card in the past 2 months where we've had, like look at when was it? A month ago where we had 3 events within 7 days.
Yeah, crazy.
We did all the coverage for all those cards, and there was not one moment where I was like, man, can this end? It's if they could put more fights on, I'd be happy with that.
Right.
I love all the events that they're putting out, even if some of them, the main card isn't a huge fight. It's still a card that's going to build up all the other divisions. Like the next event coming up is Shields versus Maya. Maybe not.
Oh, that's going to be good.
Yeah, it's maybe not the biggest fight ever, but it's a big fight. It's going to help build up the division. Then you have Silva versus Kim. You have Silva versus Hamill. You got Paul Harris versus Pierce. A whole bunch of really good fights that are going to kind of build divisions rather than always just have champions or huge names in the main event. And then you do have some cards that are on random days or random times, just normal fight nights, where you have big fighters. We have Machida versus Kennedy coming up. You've got Bisping versus Mark Munoz coming up. You've got a number of different things, and all these. We've only got 2.5 months left of the year, or about 3 months left of the year, and you have such amazing cards packed into one. I just don't see where the complaints come from. I'm so pumped for the rest of the year to do the content, to watch the fights, to you name it, man. It's going to be an awesome end of a year.
I think you're always going to find complaints from like the hardcore fans, because I mean, well, face it, I mean, everybody's got the right to their opinion, and that's fine, But I think that if you look at a real an established sports league like the NFL or NBA or NHL, I mean, there's so much bigger than MMA, and there's so much more guys to keep up with, and so many more teams and so many more matches. So you can't tell me that there is an overflow of MMA events. That's not the case. I think there needs to be the interest in watching the fighters, like you were saying. Yeah. The average guy down the street probably doesn't know who Maia or Shields are, but they probably know who GSP is, And I think the key is you have to build more of the stars, make them more of a household name, and then you're going to get more of the people tuning in who aren't normally UFC guys, and you're starting to see it happen. I mean, you start to see some guys that, now because they saw the commercial on Sunday while they were watching football, now they're going to tune in for the fight because, hey, it's two guys punching each other,
Yeah.
So, and you're going to start, yeah, exactly. So you're going to start to see a little bit more of the growth. And I think, including even this season of Ultimate Fighter, including, making it, making it more appealing to a broader base, I think helps out too. But you kind of, I think, in order for the sport to grow, I think you also have to kind of you have to grow past the current base, because the current base, I consider myself an ultimate fanboy, but I mean, you kind of have to think broader than that, because, I'm here bitching about, oh, well, that submission sucked or whatever, it's not about that. It's about, it's about getting more viewership and grow the sport more,
Yeah.
So
it's working.
Yeah, and you see it. I mean, now, you even got kids now, that, when I was a kid, I nobody knew who MMA was. If you did, it was because your dad let you watch a pay-per-view when you shouldn't have,
Yeah.
But now it's you got kids now, they got, they're looking up to these guys now, and they didn't have that before.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah, personally, sure. I really like the weekday cards just because I'm never really doing anything on a Wednesday or a Friday personally.
I love it.
So it's always just nice to watch some fighting. Why not,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was just flipping the other day and I saw Bellator, and it was one of their live events, and I'm like, oh shit,
yeah, and it's
Bellator.
a Thursday or
Sweet.
something.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. So. Yeah, I love MMA in any form. I'll watch, even because there's a regional channel here that shows some of the local fights, are happening, down
that's
here.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll catch it, even if it's one of those crappy local shows. I mean, I just love it any way I can get it, So.
Yeah, no, I love all the events. I see any type of fighting. There was a Toronto Maple Leaf game against Buffalo, I think, and there was a huge brawl out on the ice, and they're playing it at my work, and I was running people through orientations, almost unable to focus on my orientation because I was so in, to the fight. But yeah, huge fan of it. But I wanted to get in a little bit deeper with how Nixson and Mad Creative really got to where they are. Nixson, poster creator. He's been in contests. He was in the contest for the Conor McGregor poster. Fell a little bit short, but I wouldn't say very far. His product was quite the poster. Done such amazing things, been over tons of different websites, and then you have Mad Creative, who is part owner of Models in MMA, does photo shoots. What going back to the day where you really knew okay, I'm gonna start this. What got you to that point? We'll start with Nixon and then go over to Mad Creative.
I don't really know how I got into it. It was just I was just watching a lot of MMA, and I was just studying design. I was looking at all the posters that they were making, and I was just as a designer, I think we have this ability to see things for not really the way they are, but the way they could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking maybe I'll do my own version. And it just started from there. So, and it was as easy as just, starting a Facebook and trying to share it and post in different places and see where it can go. And yeah, my first poster was Bisbing and what was it? Brian Stan.
Oh, Brian Stan.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah,
yeah.
It feels like it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I made a poster where they were the main event because I didn't really know much about the flyweights. I didn't really care about them at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then and Bisbing actually saw it, I think, but on Twitter.
That's sweet.
And I just kept making it, and I had this goal to try and make every single poster for about a year.
Sweet, man.
And I had this goal can I actually get to the UFC? If I keep doing it, will they actually see my work, or will I ever get an opportunity to go to the headquarters or anything like that? That was really just my intention and just doing it for fun.
Yeah, wow. Well, it's turned out good, as I was saying before, and it's all about pushing yourself, selling yourself. When you show a poster to someone, right? Sure, they're like, this is great. It's all about you constantly giving that content. So it's not, them, only saying good job one time. Every time you're making a poster, you're hearing good job, and then after a while, these people go, you know what? Like, why isn't this guy with us? It's all about you selling yourself. Just over 2 years ago, that's when FightersBlog was created, and it was created just off of, I myself was going through a rough time. Couldn't find a job, trying so hard, and I wanted to keep myself, doing something, and rather than sitting at home overthinking things and going insane. So I started this blog, which is FightersBlog, just off of passion for the sport. I wouldn't say I was as big as a fan then as I am now, and the content wasn't as good, but that's when I started it, and it was the way you constantly broadcast yourself, the creativity that you put into it, the uniqueness that you put into things, the posts, being on top of things, always getting that content out, right? And that's what kind of gets you noticed, and not saying I'm some big shot, you could take the advice or not take the advice, or I could be wrong, but I'm humble and happy to be where I am. With as many followers I have on the site, and opportunities that it's got me, from FightersBlog, things with Matt Brown, here with you guys, Q&As, with other people. We just did one with a Bellator fighter, just 2 weeks ago. That turned out really well. So it's all about selling yourself and pushing yourself, no matter what situation you're in, right? Just push out the content, show everyone what you can do, make it, consistent. And then that's, when people really go like, wow, this guy's doing some really good work on a consistent basis, rather than, wow, this guy can make like one good poster like every 2 months, whatever, right? Push them out, and people see that, man. You never know where it's going to take you. I certainly didn't think FightersBlog or any type of, anything I ever made was going to take me anywhere, Again, I'm not some, big, huge shot or anything, but it's gotten me certain things that I might not have received before, which I'm very humble about, and, I find it pretty amazing. So, yeah, keep pushing that content out, man. I love it. I post it on my website. I post it around on Facebook, other places. Keep doing it, man. I love it.
Awesome.
Other people love it, and, it's made it onto big sites and whatnot, so keep doing it, and you'll just see yourself grow.
Now there's like when I started, there was like barely anybody making posters, and now there's just like
tons.
There's like a whole community based around it now.
Yeah,
so that's pretty crazy.
That was the same thing with my blog. I was one of, and I guess it was timing on how it got, decently big anyway, and it was the timing. When I first got onto the website Tumblr, which is just kind of like a little blogging website. I shouldn't say it's little, it's pretty big. But it's a website where people can make blogs. It doesn't have to be about a certain subject. You could post just pictures of you, anything that you want. And I decided to do one, purely on MMA. And I think when I started, I was the first, if not, around starting the same time as maybe 1 to 2 other blogging pages. So when it came to content, there was maybe 2 or 3 of us that were really battling each other to put out the content super quick, figure out cool ideas to get followers, to put content out, to do a whole bunch of unique things. So it was all timing, and then people saw that it was a big, huge contest, and we'd always get a follow from these people, on all 3 websites, and it ended up being so cool. It's not really like that now because there's so many, just try to maintain and push myself, try to keep getting interviews, doing the Q&As, these podcasts, which are awesome to have. I love it. And, just other things. Yeah, like going to events. If I wouldn't have had this website, sometimes I don't have the motivation to do certain things. So as much as I love UFC, I might have not been as motivated to go out and do the event, cover the event. But, it's gotten me this far, and, writing for Models in MMA and doing work with other people, it kind of motivated me to, go out there, put that content out, and it's only going to do good. But Matt Creativity, go ahead and, where'd you start, man?
I think it pretty much same like Nixson. I went to art school, and I went for illustration, and I wanted to get into animation and drawing. Basically that was my first, I guess, passion. Growing up, and I wrestled in high school a little bit, and I just I went to I took this one. I think I remember it was a Hapkido class, because I remember they had some grappling in it and stuff like that, But the owner of the school, he was real into marketing and stuff like that, and he wanted to start a lot of his fighters would go to these, the local shows, and he kind of wanted to start a magazine that kind of, or more like a newsletter, to kind of cover what's going on in the state of Florida, as far as like the regional fight circuit and the fighters and all that, And he knew that I was that I went to art school, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me design some stuff here for my newsletter and stuff?" And he had a lot of support, and it went from a newsletter to a magazine. It was just locally distributed, and then it kind of got bigger, and then eventually got big enough where it got purchased by a publishing company up in Montreal, and they took it over, and then they put it everywhere. So it had a good run, So. That's how I got started, because they once they bought it from him, they hired me on as a creative director, and that's when I started kind of making some trips out and doing photo shoots for some of the fighters, and that was kind of like I guess my start into the business. The first trip they sent me was to shoot Jamie Varner, because he was the WEC champ.
Yeah, we've
at the time.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, so they flew me down there to Phoenix, I remember, and then I had to drive to Albuquerque to shoot a cowboy, Cerrone, because because that was when the Varner and Cerrone feud was going on,
Yeah.
So yeah. So I did that, and that was kind of like the first time I shot it, and they used the picture for the cover, and I just kind of went out from there, So, and ever since then, I just kind of locally here. Once the magazine folded, I just kind of kept my freelance photography stuff's always been going, and I do freelance graphic design, and I still try to cover some of the local events here and stuff like that, So I always try to kind of stay involved in it a little bit.
So right now, currently, as a job, you do your photography?
Yeah, well, the business is photography and graphic design. I got a couple of clients that I do their website updates and stuff like that for. That's my main, the 9 to 5 gig that I got. But it's my own company. It's the clients that I do, and that's why I got to get up at 5:30 in the morning, because I got to get up and meet a client who's out a couple hours away, and I got to go to his office and meet up with them and talk about new stuff. So, but yeah, that's basically what I do. And the photography is just kind of like, it's kind of half of my business, So I get half of it from the photography, the other half from the graphic design. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, on your website, modelsinmma.com, where you'll see some of my writing and other content, Do you do those shoots? Because for the models, because I see the
Yeah,
models
well,
stuff go
yeah.
up.
There's I do some of it. Some of them are shoots that I've done. Others are from other photographers who will send in submissions and stuff, or or even some of the models themselves. They'll submit.
Okay.
On the website, it has the hey, if you're a model interested, contact us, and we get some responses there. So we kind of got to weed out the girls that we want to put on the site and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of how we get our submissions. So.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty sweet. And I knew, when I was doing the whole thing through Models and MMA Twitter account from the UFC 165 live event. Like to shout out someone, and Scott was there. It was quite funny because he was mind boggled. There's a girl on there named Carmen Valentina,
Yeah.
and she was doing a big part in shouting out that we were doing the event live. Followed my account. She's already following your account. Again, shouting out to everyone, and she has 135,000 followers. That we were doing the event live. It gained you some followers, and it made it really fun. So shout out to her. That was awesome. And thank you to you for allowing me to do that. It only made it that much cooler. It was
Oh
awesome.
yeah, absolutely, man. No, we definitely we'll do a lot more stuff in the future. So and yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I'm always about trying to, I guess, get together and help each other. You help me, I help you, and kind of stuff like that. Like even Nixon stuff, like it stuff's good. So if it's okay with him, I'll plug some of his stuff on the site too. So. It's always about, I think you get back what you put out. So
Yep.
I think if we help each other out, maybe it grows onto something a little bigger.
Yeah,
So
hey, that's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to make this a job if possible. This is what I love, and what better to have than that. If you love your job, you're only gonna do great things for it.
right. No, I agree. I think the you follow your passion first, and then it kind of goes from there.
Yeah, exactly. How's the working out going?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh man, it's tough, man. I mean, I always tell myself, this week I'm gonna get up and go to the gym, right? But it always turns into like 6 months later, I'm still telling myself next week.
Next week.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but then finally
Story of my life.
yeah. So finally I call her the boss, but my girlfriend's like, she's like, all right, enough's enough. Let's just both go to the gym. If I'm doing it, you're doing it too. So it's
So you
like,
guys work out together
yeah,
That's good. That's
so yeah, but she gives me the whole guilt trip when I don't do it,
when you
because
don't. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm like, all right, fine, I'll put on my shorts and let's go.
It's good though. It'll only be good for you in the end.
No, I know, man. I mean, like I used to go a lot to this you do jujitsu
Oh,
and to this one gym pretty frequently, but it's kind of the gym's about 45 minutes away, so it's kind of like kind of a pain in the ass to go there regularly, you know. But so there's this gym that's literally like down the block, so we've been going there to just work out. But it's been work. I mean, I'm not knocking it, because I know she's gonna, she knows where I sleep. She can probably
yeah.
smother me with a pillow. So yeah, well, it's going great, and looking forward to doing more of it.
So are you doing, when you work out, is it, cardio, muscle targeting, or are you doing that jiu-jitsu type class workout?
Well, when I go to jujitsu, they're doing jujitsu.
Oh, so
But
you still do that?
yeah,
Okay.
every now and then. But when I don't, when it's just a workout, I'll try to do a little weights and a little cardio.
Oh,
To
nice.
kind of because I want to cut a little bit of weight. It's not,
Alright.
I'm looking at the six pack's not there anymore. So it's like, where'd it go? It's like it was there just a couple years ago. Like, well, I got to bring it back. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, a bit of advice. You might already know it. Again, I run orientations. I work at Good Life Fitness, which is a
Right.
gym based out of Canada.
Mhm.
I believe it's #1. Again, orientations. When it comes to losing weight, tons of people, when they're looking to lose weight, the #1 thing they think of is, I'm going to go hop on a bike or a treadmill. That's going to cut the weight. And it is. It's going to cut the weight. Now the issue is when you lose that weight, they think, oh, okay, nice. I can go eat me a burger and I've lost the weight. It's going to keep it down, sweet. When you don't do any muscle building workouts, it's very easy to gain that weight back because your muscle burns off a set amount of calories on its own, right? It builds
Right.
your metabolism the more muscle you have. So, you were saying that you do muscle training as well as cardio, which is really good, right? Especially if you're looking to lose weight, because that set amount of muscle in your body is going to burn a set amount of fat and calories from your body on top of daily activities you're doing, which ultimately is going to, allow you to get thinner. And then keep those calories off when you have the day when you're not working out, or you have a cheat day and you feel like eating whatever you want. Your metabolism is now higher because of the muscle percentage you have to burn, all the garbage off that's entering your body.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Now I try to get on, like I'll jump on the treadmill and, for the first about 15, 20 minutes, kind of get the, kind of get a good sweat going.
Yep.
And then I'll hit some of the weights and, kind of go from there.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I just try to do what I can, so.
Do you do full body workouts or certain muscle groups on certain days, or how are your workouts?
Now that I've been going a little more regularly, like 4 times a week now, I usually try to mix it up with like upper body, lower body, upper body. So kind of that way it's kind of evened out.
Nice.
So but when I get lazy, it's just like, okay, I'll just do cardio and maybe do like one set of some like just like a quick circuit, like bench press and yeah. So, but I do what I can, So.
Well, you got to start somewhere, right? And you're gonna have days where, you're not gonna want to push as hard as other days, right?
Yeah.
Which is fine. As long as you're going, it's better than you saying next week, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So, no, it's good that you're doing that, because I'm super into it. Again, I do it as a job. I got to wake up in the morning to go do it as a job.
Right.
I love it. I love hearing the stories, hearing about the goals, what people are doing, and trying to help them. Tons of people come into the gym and they say they want to do something and they, don't do certain things correct. And I love helping them. And then they go, holy smokes, like that, thank you. And it's great, man. It's good to hear that, you're back at the gym doing what you got to do, fit, all that.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
It's awesome.
So how about you? I mean, do you do orientation or do you also do personal training? What is it?
So at my job right now, I'm fitness motivator, which isn't personal training. I've been told so many times to do personal training because I'm very good at talking with clients, very good at targeting a muscle, and just doing workouts correctly and running people through it nice and clean. But I don't do that as of yet. Thing is with personal training is that's going to take a lot of time away from anything I'm trying to build with my blog or anything else, because you're there 10 to 12 hours a day, as to where right now I'm doing, like 4-hour shifts. So I'm there doing the orientations, helping people out, and then that's my shift.
Do you got to go through up there in Canada? Do you have to go through like a certification to become a personal trainer?
You do. You have to get some some things on your resume to present before you become a personal trainer. It's not too hard. It's nothing crazy. Once you want to move up in the levels, because there are levels of personal training, that's when it gets a little bit expensive. But if you're a good personal trainer, you can make a lot of money, because when you
that's
sell
what I was
personal
saying.
training,
It's kind of like once I know you got to, kind of do the grind, but once you have your client base, you can kind of set your hours, I guess, or to a certain degree, I guess, right?
Exactly, and that's what it is. But yeah, it still takes a lot of time, because you have to do certain PHPs, you have to do this with other clients, you have to have your clients where you're doing the workout with these people that have paid. So it takes a lot of time, and you have to hit a certain amount of numbers on certain things with Good Life as a company. So that's what takes up the time. If you just had to worry about your clients once you had them and you figured, I'm getting a good income right now, then you might not be so tied up. But that's, they constantly want you to push to get business for the company, because they make a certain percentage.
That's everywhere, though. That's every job you got. They're always, you're always going to.
Exactly.
So.
Unless you're doing it completely on your own, right? If you get to that level where you're a level 4, I think the highest level might be a 5 or a 6, when you're on your own and you're completely, you get all the money, the money that you don't get is just what you put towards helping this person do their workout, finding a place to work out, certain equipment they might need,
But even then, I think whether it's that or any other business, even if it's you're just working for yourself, I think you kind of have to always be pushing because, especially when you're freelance. I mean, like take it from me. I mean, when it's freelance and you don't have a guaranteed check, I mean, you're always hustling, because you never know when this client's going to drop off or when this guy's going to get, says he's going to find somebody who does it cheaper, So you're always, pushing for yourself, So.
Exactly. Well, if you sell, let's say, personal training, $5,000. They get 60 sessions or so.
Mm.
How long is $5,000 going to last you?
Oh yeah, exactly.
So you gotta... especially, let's say you've got, a wife, a kid, a dog,
Yeah.
That money's gone pretty quick.
It's gone before you even get it, So
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's constant. And of course, if you get to that level and you're doing it freelance and you're doing well, it's much better pay because again it's your money, but you have to start somewhere. You're not just gonna start at a level 4, 5, or 6 and be off on your own. Everyone thinks, and you can look up personal training and it'll say you can make upwards to $100,000 a year. And I used to look at it like that, like holy smokes, I'm gonna make $100,000 a year.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not that easy. It's all about, again, as I was explaining before, building yourself. That resume that you can present to your clients where they're like, holy smokes, let's go.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's good. And I think I want to get myself into better shape. I'm in good shape right now. I'd like to get myself in a little bit better shape, especially if I'm going to do any kind of personal training and also get a little bit more knowledge on everything. I don't want to not be able to give the right information out to someone that really is in need of it, because there are some people, obese, they have issues with their body where, they need the help, and I can't really afford to put out false information. They hear something somewhere else and then get confused and have no idea what to do.
Right. Then you're the bad guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I had another quick little thing I wanted to bring up. I wanted to know what you guys thought about Dominick Cruz possibly being stripped of the bantamweight title.
Damn.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah. It's really tough because he's been out for so long, but at the same time he was the champion. He was so good too.
Yeah. That's the thing though. You can't. What if he gets into another injury? What if something happens? And he's out for, let's say, another year, and even half a year. 2.5 years the title's been gone. Renan Barão has been holding shit down the whole time.
Yeah.
I think Dana White said January 2014, right? Was the deadline or something?
No,
I
believe
February. He said if he can't fight by February. Be in fighting condition by February, then he's just being stripped.
They want to book the fight for February.
Yeah.
They want to book the fight. If he can't fight February, I think it was February 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, then they're talking about stripping him. It's not 100%, but it's possible. You've been out 2 years. Come February, it's going to be 2 years, 4 months or so, I believe. And how long can you be out for, man?
I don't know. I think it's the right decision just because he has been gone for so long. He only defended it one time, I think.
Uriah Faber?
He defended against Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse also, that was 2. And then
so 2 times he defended it, and he's been gone for 2.5 years. Renan Barão's defended it 2 times, and he also won it against Uriah Faber. So that's 3 title fights already. That's happened. I mean, rightfully, I would say Renan Barão has been dominating the division. Without Dominick Cruz there, he's not defending it. So Renan Barão is technically the kingpin until he comes back. Yeah. So I think it would be the right decision to strip him of it because he has been gone for a ridiculous amount of time. When was the Mighty Mouse fight? That was almost 3 years ago now.
Yeah. It was a while because they did. Wasn't it Mighty Mouse? No, it was Uriah Faber and then Mighty Mouse. Yeah.
I believe so.
I'm checking right now. He's only had 2 fights. He's been out since October 1st, 2011. His last fight was against Demetrius Johnson, which was a long time ago, and I believe that was a free fight. Yeah, it was UFC 5-6.
Yeah, it was on one of the earlier Fox cards, I believe.
Yeah, and then UFC 132. It's funny that we're talking about this. That was actually the first ever event that I promoted. UFC 132, Dominick Cruz versus Uriah Faber. That was his first fight in the UFC, and then before that, he was defending against Scott Jorgensen, Joseph Benavidez, and Brian Bowes. But he's been.
I agree. I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, as from a company standpoint, you need to be able to show up to work, eventually, and I think honestly the UFC is going to take care of him regardless, because I mean isn't he like an analyst already for Fox Sports or something?
He is. Yeah.
And I'm sure that they're taking care of him in that regards. So I don't think he's going to be out of a job homeless if he can't show up to fight. So
what I think should happen is. God forbid he can't make it February if something happens. He comes back. He can fight the champion, but he doesn't go in there as champion. If let's say it doesn't happen February, it happens on a later date. Renan Barão defends the title, and these two end up fighting, Cruz and Barão. Barão, champion, fights former champion Dominick Cruz. He's not, a champion.
I think he just, if he can't show up on February, then he just gets a guaranteed title shot whenever he can show up. To whoever is the champ, So, but it'll probably be Barão, because Barão's a beast. I mean, I don't see too many people being able to knock that dude out.
Yeah, I also think that because Barão has been so dominant, that he's just deserving of it. He hasn't had close split decisions in any of his defenses. He's knocked people out. So,
But who's Barão going to fight next? The winner of McDonald and Faber, who he's both beaten already. It's tough.
That's true as well. So I mean, hopefully Dominick Cruz can come back, because I'd love to see that. Honestly, that'd be a great fight.
Yeah, no, and I hope to see him come back. And Dominick Cruz is saying how he can beat Renan Barão. Obviously, Renan Barão, thinks otherwise. I would love to see the fight. I really hope he doesn't get injured or something happens where he does get stripped. I don't want that. I like Dominick Cruz. He puts on some pretty good fights. He's a very, very fast-paced fighter. So is Renan Barão. And that's just going to make for, like a crazy super fight almost.
Yeah, I actually just looked at the list of upcoming events, and there's one for February 8th in Brazil. So I assume that would probably be like the returning fight if he is to return.
Yep.
So... because that would be huge in Brazil.
Huge. Oh, yeah. Renan Barão's big. He's big. And then, the rest of the year, you got Johnson versus Benavidez 2, Mighty Mouse. That's going to be sweet. The first time Benavidez fell a little bit short. You got Mark Hunt versus Bigfoot Silva. Pettis versus Thompson. Weidman versus Silva 2, which has Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate. We've got Vitor Belfort versus Dan Henderson, the GSP fight, of course.
What do you think about that insane. One, the Miesha Tate and Rousey fight?
I like them both. I like them both.
Armbar.
Yeah, I like them both, but...
You been watching the Ultimate Fighter?
Yeah, I like them both, man.
Yeah.
I like them both. But both stunning, and I don't know if that is getting in the way of my decision, but I'm completely in love with both of them. But Rousey by armbar, it's just that's what's been happening forever, I would have honestly liked to see Rousey versus Kat Zingano.
Yeah,
who's the girl who just beat Tate. And then she got injured, and now Tate is coaching over Zingano, who was
Tate sells tickets, though.
Tate does. She does, and she's good looking.
Yeah,
she's good looking. And that card is stacked, though. You've got Travis Brown versus Josh Barnett, Chris Lieben versus Uriah Hall, which is sick. I'm gonna try to get Chris Lieben on a podcast. I'm gonna rally.
Is this the card where Nate Diaz says he can't make it or something, or no?
That would be.
It's the fight for the troops card, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the fight for the troops card against Gray Maynard, which is when? That would be November the 6th, which is a day before my birthday. Yeah. Yeah, he's supposed to fight on that card. It's actually not...
November
it's not
6th?
showing up on the card right now.
It says it's on the Ultimate Fighter 18 finale.
Oh, it's on the finale. Oh, you're right.
The Johnson Benavidez card.
You're right. You are right. I'm sorry. I got confused when... Yeah, you're right. That's when it's supposed to be. Nate Diaz said he might not show up because of the high school reunion.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened? I totally missed that one.
So Nate Diaz and Gray Maynard are set to fight So Nate Diaz put out a statement saying, "I'm skipping the fight because I'm going to a high school reunion."
Wow.
Yeah. So now there's some big thing, and Dana White put out this, this statement saying, "I highly doubt he's gonna do it," but he keeps saying, "No, I'm going to this high school reunion." Um,
I honestly don't know why Dana White keeps putting up with those guys. I don't believe that they can't sell that many tickets that they're worth the hassle. But I guess I know they have a fan base, but
people
yeah,
love them.
I know they got a fan base. What are you gonna do?
As much as it sucks to, well, it doesn't suck as much for me as it does maybe Dana, but um, I love these guys, man. I love them. They're awesome. They put on great fights. Even if they lose, they're putting on a great fight, which is awesome. Which is awesome. I love them. Nick Diaz, we have no idea what's going on with him. Nate Diaz, the whole group. I like them all. I like them all.
I like their fights. I guess I don't like leading up to and after the fights.
Yeah.
And after, because like I remember with the GSP fight, I mean, it wasn't like Diaz ever had GSP in trouble, but then it was he came in overweight, or I know he's taking steroids, or I got robbed of this. Like, I mean, it's like, just shut up, just I mean, just take it like a man. You're gonna show up for your next fight. I mean, they're warriors. I'm not taking anything away. I fully respect what they bring when they're in the octagon, but the kind of the shit
they don't like losing.
And the disrespecting, I think that's kind of, I don't know. I just think that's, that's just me. I just don't like how they do it.
No, I completely agree. Again, it's their fighting that wins me over. Where it's like, if they would be gone, I'd be a bit upset. But then when you hear about all this buildup, it's like, okay, well now what's going to happen to the card if they drop off? If the card going to be, not a really big card as it would have been, or there's a whole bunch of different factors. But when it comes to their fighting, that's what sucks me in and goes, wow, like these guys are awesome, and it would suck for them to be gone.
Yeah, but I mean, in the other sense also was like, I know the guy, he wants to go to his reunion if that's what he's saying, but I mean, how many guys would kill to have that chance to go there, and he's like, oh, fuck it, I'll just go to my high school. I mean, it is,
and it's a big money fight. It's not a low ranked fight,
right?
It's a big fight.
I'd
show up for the fight.
Yeah,
you're gonna make enough money to throw another high school reunion.
Yeah.
So.
And you can just go on Facebook and see everybody else. Anyways. So.
Yeah. No. Since when did they become persons?
Right.
Oh, I'm gonna go hang out with all my high school buddies. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You won't show up to the press conference and talk with people, but now you're skipping a fight, which you say is the only thing you like about this job, to go hang out with people.
Right.
That's all right.
He probably doesn't want to fight Gray Maynard because like last time they fought, it was like a split decision, and like most of the time the Diaz brothers feel like they always get like the shit end of the split decisions.
One thing to say to that is don't let it go to the judges. Judges, Jesus, I can't talk. Don't let it go to the judges. When you do that, it's fair play. People thought Gustafsson won. He let it go to the judges. He lost. To be the champ, you got to beat the champ. And if he would have won, it's he didn't. You can't leave it to the judges. So they do, and if they lose, they can't blame it on anyone but themselves. If you would have finished, you would have won. Unless they find marijuana in your system, then.
Well, no, I agree. I mean, especially since they always are talking about how amazing they are on the ground, and they always bring it, and they come here to scrap. I mean, well, if you came here to scrap, how come you didn't? How come GSP outstruck you? Almost like 2-1. Or with Nate Diaz, if you're such a brawler, and Henderson took your your head off basically. I mean, it's like. Talking trash is one thing, but be able to back it up as well.
Exactly.
I think Hendricks is doing more damage than those guys are. He literally shows up and he knocks people out. So does Barao. But he's not saying like, oh, I'm the baddest dude on the planet, So I don't know, but hey, that's their shtick. Everybody's got one, so they have a right to it. So
yeah, well, I love them. It's like a love-hate relationship with them, and especially that I'm sure coming from the UFC, and Dana White has said that before. It's like a love-hate thing, You love them when they're fighting, but the lead up, when you can't find Nick Diaz for the George St. Pierre fight, and then Condon gets the fight, it's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, but they got the BJ fight with the Nick Diaz, and like even though it was kind of weird that he got kicked off of the title fight, it was like that BJ Penn fight with Nick Diaz was pretty good. Though.
It was good, yeah. Well, it wasn't even weird that he got kicked off. He wasn't showing up for any press. And he didn't show up for that press. So they were like, okay, well, in your contract it says, you have to be here to promote the fight. Imagine if the press conference just consisted of Dana White.
It'd be awesome. How would you not?
No, that's what they have, the media scrum, right? They have their own thing for that. The press conference, people want to ask the fighters, certain questions. If you're not there, it's not a press conference. It's another media scrum with Dana White. And it says in the contract again, you have to do certain promotions for the fight. And it's not like Nick Diaz gets paid, peanuts and crackers. He's getting money. He's a pretty high paid fighter.
I think he said that they didn't tell him about the conference, and he was like trying to get to the airport.
He didn't read the contract then. If they didn't tell him, the contract did. And if you're signing a contract that you're not reading, you're pretty silly.
I think that the what I disagree with is that everybody else has to do it. It's part of the job. If you got the world champ, showing up and he's got to fucking do a media conference that he hates doing, I'm sure, and I'm sure most of those other guys would rather be. They got to cut weight. They got to keep training. But they got to show up and do their job.
Yeah.
And what makes this guy like he's like the kid who always does shit in school and never gets in trouble. You're like, fuck that guy. It's like I already got suspended twice already, and this guy never gets busted. That's kind of like, I think that's where the animosity comes in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, again, I like him. Hopefully he shows up for the fight. I'm sure if he doesn't, he'll probably...
I think that would be a first, though. I think if someone actually just didn't show up for a fight and it would get canceled because he didn't show up. Has that ever happened in the UFC before?
Closest thing would be his brother Nick Diaz, right? That's...
I think the closest thing would be some fighters just have like a massive cut and they can't physically...
Yeah, but even still, they know, right? Like, they get told that. They're like, listen, this guy has a cut. Like, in this case, it's just like, fuck you, I'm not coming to the event.
I think the closest thing was who was it? Was it not Anderson Silva? It was John Jones, right? It was John Jones who was supposed to fight or something, got the injury, and then or
it was supposed to be Dan Henderson. And
Dan Henderson, Dan Henderson, exactly. And then they scrapped the whole card.
Yeah, the whole card was
done. True.
That was 151, right? And they went right to 152. Yeah. Even still, I see that as a little bit different. It was still bullshit. It was still bullshit. But in terms of Nate Diaz, I think what we're thinking is along the lines of, it's fight night and he's not here. So Gray Maynard's sitting in the back waiting for no one, and he's now not going to fight. Rather than them having a week or 2 weeks notice and then going, you know what, there's nothing we can do. I could see Nate Diaz being, down to the day, literally just not showing up.
Nick Diaz did that to Braulio Estima at they were supposed to have a super fight in jiu-jitsu. What was it, last year or something? And then
I heard about that.
And Estima showed up. He made weight the day before, and Diaz no-showed.
I heard about that. I'm not too big into that stuff. But I did read about that. You're right. Yeah. Wow.
And they were selling that. Well, the promoter was selling that as like one of those like little online pay-per-view thingies. But still, I mean that's his thing. They promoted the fight. I'm sure they paid him or offered him some money to do it, and he blew it off.
Wow. So. Yeah. Well, hopefully it doesn't happen, because I'm sure if it does, he won't be around the UFC too long. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And for them to announce this fight, he had to sign a contract. Because they don't just put it up on the UFC website because they made it. These fighters have to agree, sign a contract. So I don't know if this thing is all played out or he's just changed his mind like, oh shit, I have plans. Actually, I'm not showing up.
I'm sure it is all played out. I don't think they would actually do something like that.
Yeah. I think he's doing it to kind of hype the fight, get more people interested. But, we'll see.
Wolf tickets, man. He's selling Wolf tickets.
Wolf tickets. Exactly. Dan Hardy. One quick thing I wanted to bring up, I just saw it here. It says UFC boss Dana White. Ken Shamrock owes me $175,000, and I'm coming for it, Ken. This article's up on MMA Junkie. I have not read it yet.
I think that's a fallout because I think earlier today I read that Tito Ortiz, I guess, tweeted Randy Couture, Ken Shamrock, and I believe somebody else, and Rampage, and they said, hey, we're going to show up to the UFC's 20th anniversary fight. Let them try to stop us or something like that.
I believe I read part of that in there, yeah.
And I think Shamrock was the only one that was like, yeah, I want to see them try to stop. I think he was talking more trash than the other ones were, so maybe that's what spurned Dana White. And, you know.
Do you know what time of day that was from Tito?
It was supposedly this afternoon is when I saw it on my little app here, so I'm guessing he must have tweeted it today or yesterday. Unless he deleted it.
I believe it was today.
Maybe we should crash the show. I will buy the tickets. Yep, Frank Shamrock, Rampage Jackson, Randy Couture.
This is all very like WWE-esque, just like talking shit to each other. I don't know.
Never trust anything Tito says anymore because once you've gone to TNT, you know, or the TNA wrestling, I'm pretty sure everything else he says is, you know, kind of building up the fight like his pay-per-view, you know.
Wow. So this, you know, the 175 is probably Dana firing back, going, you know, I wasn't going to bring it up and make you look like a broke bum, but you owe me this money and you can't pay it.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah,
well,
I just saw the tweets right now.
Shamrock try to sue the UFC for something, but I mean the UFC's got damn good lawyers. I'm pretty sure, you know. So they probably.
Well, that's what Dana said. He said it was all that money was for attorney fees.
Yeah.
So I assume it had to do something with all that legal bullshit. But like I said, it just seems like very WWE. Like, let's sell more tickets.
Yeah.
When you're with Bellator, that's what they're into now, man. You see Rampage Jackson out on TNA and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow, I just saw the tweets and retweeted them now. That's insane.
I don't know. In my opinion, like all this type of just like it's all publicity, right? Like it's good to see that there's you know social happenings in the sport, but I don't pay attention to this kind of stuff. I watch the fights. That's about it.
Yeah, I pay attention to everything. I can't say the same as you. But yeah, I guess
I would buy that if it was amongst the UFC employees, but considering that Tito
Jackson and Tito.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of like it's Bellator versus UFC. I don't think that they're actually in cahoots to play something up. I really do think they do hate each other, you know?
Yeah.
So
no, they do, and you see Dana White talk about it, and obviously now their fighters are firing back, but what's the problem? You know, just promote your business, you know, and if you're promoting it the right way, you're gonna blow up, you know. So I don't see what all the conflict is about. But I'm gonna wrap this up. We've been on here for over an hour or so. I'd like to thank you guys loads and loads for coming on to the show. Scott again for showing up. Nixson and Mad Creativity. It was great having you guys on here. Did you guys have any final things you'd like to say before we sign out?
Thanks for having me. And can I give a shout out?
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
I'd like to thank UFC on Fox fan page, MMA Fan Made, Graphzilla, and the MMA community for sharing my posters. Thank you guys.
Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, he was one of the guys I was in competition with, MMA Fan Made. So shout out to him. He's got a great blog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, go check him out. Mad Creativity, anything?
Just check out the site modelsatmma.com for Adam Labar's amazing insight and live tweets every now and then. And no, thanks a lot for having me on the podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It was awesome. Scott, you have anything to say?
If you ever have a chance to go to a UFC show like live, go to it. It was fucking awesome.
It was insane. Yeah, thank you to everyone who watches this. Thank you guys. Be sure to check out FightersBlog.tumblr.com for content and also everything that these guys have shouted out. Great show. Take care.
Cheers. All right, buddy. Take care.